And we are live. Just saying hello, Friday, February 7th, 2015. Let me take off my air traffic controller headset. Good morning, everybody. Getting the color, the sound adjusted. Okay, that's a good start. When a Friday starts and I hit all my marks, we're in for a good ride. Today I'm being a little mysterious while you guys wander on in, and do say hello. Hello. Hello, everyone. Please say hi. Today I'm doing a little bit of a wild card because this has been a wild week. I have a lot of stuff to share, but the theme of today is show and tell, but I'm going to put it all together with a story from the real world, and I think there's going to be components of this or elements of this that you guys are going to appreciate. And whether you're an implementer or whether you want to use this for your own business, I've had plenty of emails this week and conversations this week to know that this is the future today. So good morning, Lloyd. Thank you. Good morning, Mark. Everybody else, as you come in, say hello. Old school, but I like it. I see the numbers of people who come and go, and I can watch on YouTube and stuff. Usually we get, I don't know, a dozen or two people who are watching this live, and then everybody else picks it up in the comments later. So here's this, the background of this. Oh, okay. I hope Sandy comes by too. The background of this is that there's a couple elements in play, but one of them is that I'm constantly, obviously, using the very same tools that I build for you guys, share with you guys, teach you guys to use, compile into systems for servicing my own clients. And those include students as well as actual real world customers. And one of the relationships this year has blossomed and also become an inspiration, because although I have other clients like this is a client that was at a right moment, right time, not only for me to help them with their actual solutions, but also to do something that extends beyond, because their solution, I can't say I'm singularly responsible in any way, shape, or form, but because of what we did to clean up their previous site, they are doing more with it. I don't want to say more than that. And in the process of doing more with that, one of the very, very, very smart and creative founders and I really hit it off. And so some of the features I'm going to show you today, some of the things I'm going to show you today were inspired by that specifically. But I have many others of you. Some of you are here today. Some of you will get this on the email who have had similar businesses. And one of the things that I've said again and again to the point is that when we integrate the new tools, including AI, into our workflow, I think that the number one priority should not be to fool your clients or your customers or those clients and customers of your client, in other words, if you're an implementer or an agency, into thinking that they're talking to real people or that they have lost the humanity. In fact, just the opposite. The goal for all of us, in my opinion, should be to spend as much time as possible on the human relationship side of our business and to have everything else as a process or an automation on the background. And that includes the same kind of things that, you can always hire somebody to do for you, but that you know better and you know best from your relationships with the clients how to manage. And by injecting the processes on the background that take away menial tasks from you, while spending all of your waking moments talking to the real life people, I think you're going to position yourself very well, whatever it is that you're selling, for the transitions that are, let's be just completely transparent, are here today. The shit is hitting the proverbial fan in terms of marketing and the ecosystem and late stage capitalism and human beings and robots that can walk and talk as well as answer questions. And I think anybody who puts their head in the sand on this part of the game is going to be like a Luddite at the turn of the century. They're going to be sad and disappointed because it's not going away. The issue is, how do we integrate it into what was previously done by lots of humans and lots of menial tasks and so forth? And I think there's a similar way of doing it. Like I've got my, I got my computer and I've got brand new tools for my computer. Hello. I write code for a living. I sell software for a living. And I still have this tool because this is the right tool for the particular job of just instantly satisfying my need to take something out of my brain, put it on paper, do something with it. Yes, I could type it, but it's better there. All right, let's go into specifics. For those of you who have just tuned in, one of the things that we have with the minute launch is everything in a box as if WordPress was a platform service for you or for your clients, curated with the sensibilities to do everything you needed to do for one low price. Like WordPress as a service would be similar to going to any other platform, except the best part about it is that you end up with something that you or your client completely owns and controls, and Uncle Spence and my team of AI buddies can develop all kinds of cool new combinations of the very same blocks or IKEA furniture, so that you don't have to think too hard about what to do to deliver things to your customers of value. You just have to think about the relationship with those people, and then you bring them to the platform, because everything is set up in a way that protects you and your relationship as an implementer, protects you and your relationship if you're just the end user. And it's a way for everybody in a holistic human way to make money from the most important part of the relationships, which is getting something for human beings to use that is involving other human beings, but yet not forcing people to do all the menial stuff of the past. So what I've been showing up to now, of course, is, the $97 a month includes the software, includes the hosting, includes the email unlimited answers. And then there's always the hands-on options. And I show that over here in another way. When we've been talking, all of the clients of mine, maybe even yourself, who are implementers, they were always wondering, well, what am I getting out of this? And what you're getting out of this, by the way, just to close that loop, is you charge a commensurate amount of $97 to be the implementer. So IKEA is the platform. Let's say IKEA had a $97 a month, all you can get from IKEA plus the guy in the yellow vest. You're the person who goes with your client to IKEA, has a nice lunch. They pay you $97 to talk to them about the content and the design and the actual use of the platform. See, you're an expert who loves doing this, that, and the other thing. You're sort of okay at technology. You go to the Lego store where the platform, $97 a month, is Legos. Everything you need, with an expert there in a red vest. You bring the client there, you charge them $97 a month at the base for being the expert that holds their hand and does the content and does all of the design and makes all the choices. And since you have a relationship with the platform owner and you're part of this community, it just makes it easy. That value proposition is going to have a never-ending stream of what I'm going to show you now, which is, besides the actual components themselves, we've got some features that are now going to be available as either a standalone thing or as a service for you guys as implementers, as a standalone thing. And I just am blown away with how much I was able to do so quickly. Okay. So without further ado, but with one last stop on the choo-choo, I want you guys to understand that I have finally, with the help of Ann Stevenson, who has joined me here for documentation, we are making the transition, just to let you know, to Minute Launch as the brand name for the three things, right? The software kit, unlimited email, and the hosting. These will all just be a box. It's a Minute Launch box, like I have the Wave Solo box. And this box will have those three things available for you to sell, even to white label it if you want. It doesn't matter. And Ann is helping me with making all the final modern, lightweight, simple recipe cards documentation. But along the way, we have also started finally getting the social network that I promised, now that we've tested and started to document a bunch of stuff. So the social network community is open, and I'm going to make introductions today. I'll send out invites. Anybody who has either had a free call with me or who has bought anything is welcome to come in. And I'm not offering a premium thing like I started out with that Spence thing. Instead, I'm just making this available to everybody. But you have to have had a free call with me or an account with me from buying something, because that way every Tom, Dick, and Harry doesn't just show up and start causing trouble. So the community part is going to grow. None of that is my point, but I just want to do public service announcement. Okay. Here's the setup. I've got a client who, let's say, and I'm going to use the school WP just because I've got this, who has got a series of products or services or data on their website. And because they own this WordPress website, hello, They don't have to worry about privacy problems. They don't have to worry about, not necessarily data scraping. I mean, there is that potential, but essentially they've got something that they own and control. Sorry, I should have put that up like that. They have something that they own and control, and it's in WordPress anyway. And in previous office hours, I showed you guys, let me get rid of my banner under my face here. Hold on. I'm going to see if I can adjust this a little bit. Hold on one second, because I'm annoyed by, well, I guess it doesn't matter. It's just the angle of the camera. My mouth is, for the lip readers in the crowd, not available. What happens is, last week I showed you, for example, like the Media Hub. We have ways by using WordPress to extend the functionality, because WordPress as a platform provides me and others this incredible opportunity to just take pre-made components, pre-made functionality, and just meld it together in new ways, but still have it being the proper concierge system. And in so doing, the idea for me is that we can extend that further into some of the areas where otherwise you're going to spend a ton of time trying to be competitive, or for your clients be competitive, by hooking up all these outside services. And of course, I'm talking about things like, how do you respond to customer support questions? How do you create media content? How do you publish stuff that is associated to the private data that you and your clients have collected via the customers and the content on their site? And in doing so, those extra tools are fine, but I discovered that by the time you're done trying to figure out which ones to use and which ones to hook up, and then loading your data in and having to have them talk to other things, it becomes the typical shit show, right? Like, too many parts, too many pieces, too much of a Frankenstein. And then you need to be a full-time expert to do anything with that. All right. So what's the alternative? Well, the alternative is for me to adjust this, because it's going to drive me crazy. Hold on. You know, I'm nothing if not a lunatic when it comes to, like, I just don't like anything out of place. I cannot figure out for the life of me how to get rid of the banner below my voice. Hold on, let's see. I'm going to do it, because otherwise I'm just going to stare at this and I'm going to be just like annoyed the whole time. There. Well, you would think I've been using this long enough that I could just get rid of something. Here we go. Ta-da. Show display names. Okay, there we go. I have to adjust that later, but you guys know me as Spence. Okay, so here's the deal. This is a site that, let's say I've got a bunch of products that have lots of details about what they do, what the benefits are, and so forth. And I, as an implementer or as an end user, want to have somebody work with me that really doesn't know the same amount about the information. Or I would like to associate the people's interaction with my stuff with the marketing automation details I have that have tracked what things they've seen or clicked or bought or done, or other people. And let's say, for example, that in doing so, I can have a helper that my clients don't see, but looks and feels and acts and sounds not just like me necessarily, but like anybody I want. And yet they have all the same answers and the same knowledge that I would have if I was answering personally. Hello, Chris. Hello, hello. And in doing so, it was built into the thing that I own and control, or my clients own and control, in the box of WordPress, instead of having to connect any external services. Because keep in mind, I say this a million times, the most important thing that we need to do is to cut down as many external services as possible. Right now, for a client, you only really need two, besides a domain name. You need an SMTP delivery mechanism, and you need a payment gateway. Technically, you need a domain name, but that's just foregone conclusion. By eliminating as much, maybe a streaming video service too, but let's just say that's perfunctory. By eliminating any other externalities and having it in the box, it's not just a time-saving thing, but it's over the course of many days and moons going to build into something more and more and more and more powerful. Because let's say, for example, the interaction of your clients and what they do and how they do it gets melded together automatically with the answers that you give to questions about which products that the clients should buy or subscribe to in the future. And then that spits out social media or social proof or actual content or scripts, and it has things produced. You essentially have an extension of the WordPress is a service factory that comes from Minute Launch that does all the expensive, crazy things, except without the need to subscribe to those services. I'm going to show you what I mean. All right, so here's the use case. Here in this site, I have loaded it with a bunch of products. And these products are supplements because this is where the ideas come from. And if I go over here, one of these, there is products. So this is just using the normal components we got, WooCommerce, launch flows, and so on and so forth. But the idea is, and I don't need them, but like I just loaded up with no images. Maybe I have 9,900 products, and each one of these products has enough details in it that it is useful for training an AI assistant to be able to get into it. Okay. So ignore some of these notices and warnings and so forth. They're not like super important. I have, by the way, I'm going to turn it off. I've turned on while I was developing the debugging. I'm going to turn off the debugging. So forgive me while I do that, because otherwise all these weird notices are going to show up and you're going to wonder what's going on. So if you've never done it, by the way, debug mode is available in your public HTML under WP config. And all you need to do is just literally carefully change the word debug true to debug false. So if you have this or already inside here, define WP debug, let's turn that to false. That way all these weird notices won't show up. All right. So inside of the site, I've got all these products, and I've got the ability for somebody to, either me as the owner of the shop or somebody who works for me, to answer the multitude of questions that come in. These may be from emails. They may be from what I'm going to show you, a special intake mechanism. They could be from social media. They could be from just things that you read about and you want to talk about. I don't know about you, but I use Slack as a way of every time, every day I have something interesting, I use Slack to send myself a Slack notice. Go look at this and do this and fix this. And it's really stupid because I only use it because I have Slack with me all the time and I've gotten used to it. But like, wouldn't it be better if I had my own way of doing it? All right. So here's, I will stop putzing around. We've got the products, we've got the business. This could be any content type. Could be posts or pages, a custom post type. It could be a directory. I'm using products. I've built into one of the features that's going to be released this idea of having an AI engine that is my assistant in the shop to help me directly, automatically, or indirectly and semi-automatically manage doing all of the things I need to do to grow this business. And as a service, it would allow me to, if I wanted, tap into what my company is offering is a full hands-off. So for example, we'll get to this. If you had clients that didn't want to run their website and you don't want to be the one running it, for certain sets of circumstances, we can offer it a fully run operating system where not only do we do all these things for them, but we also aggregate the data and give it to them in formats that's ready to use, as I'll talk about, like social media posting and so forth. Let me get into the meat. I know I'm being really, by the way, apologies, time out. I'm only running on 25% brain power today because last night I only slept 2 hours. I switched what I was doing with one of these anti-inflammatories, which is awesome. But when you up the dose, sometimes it makes you insomniac. So I went to bed at 4 in the morning and got up at 6. So sorry about that. Feel otherwise pretty good. So we go over here. Let's go to our AI support window. I'm going to stop beating around the bush and then we'll get into this. A couple things I got to do. Let me, I hate to do this, but I'm going to have to scale this a little bit. And it's, I know this is impossible to see, but that's just, maybe I'll do it like this. It's because the window that I'm sharing is just not the right scale. Okay, I'm going to do it like this. And I'll just look at you guys over here if I need to see if things are working. I can't see the comments this way, but I think it'll be okay. Okay, that's close enough. All right, so here's the situation. Imagine we've got customers, we've got clients, and they are interacting with the website, interacting with the business, doing what they're doing, and they have questions that they're going to email in. I don't know. I'm like, these are supplements. I'm a 58-year-old guy that has had back surgery and I have inflammation, but I want to, still bike ride and play pickleball. What do I do? Now, if this particular products or if this particular company's products would help me, having an assistant who's knowledgeable would be amazing. But like hiring a person, training them, turning them into the same expert as the owner, that's a pain in the ass. And it's over the long run not likely to be the solution with an AI world. However, being the owner, you don't want to do more work. You want to spend your time talking to your clients. And so in that regard, having something that is smart enough to know the right answers that you can curate as you go and still own the answers and repurpose the answers and have the answers along with your own stuff in your box is a fairy tale. Well, here's where the fairy tale exists. On the left side of my support assistant solution here, you plug in whichever of the engines you want. Right now, just to show you, you can plug in, I mean, this is just because I wrote it with the two I use the most, Claude or OpenAI. That's a non-issue. This will have anything you want to plug in, or as a service, we might just offer it as ready to run. I'm not interested in going into the AI business myself. What I'm trying to show you here is with the WordPress stuff we've already got, how we're going to extend it, and you just bring your own AI engine if you want. I'm also integrating 11 Labs. Many of you have seen me talking and sharing like it's Spence's voice or another person's voice. Well, what about this? 11 Labs now makes it possible that if you have a client like a medical practitioner or something, or somebody who is otherwise well known by their voice, wouldn't it be cool if for 30 minutes of time, they can just do an 11 Labs themselves and get a voice engine that can plug into here? Or you can have it in Spanish or in German or in English or another language. In other words, the client can get exactly the relationship they want for the kind of answers. If, for example, instead of reading answers or viewing a video of answers per se, maybe they just want to listen to the answers because they're walking or riding their bike or driving in the car in traffic. Even better, what if they just wanted to interact and have a conversation trained on the private data that comes from your WordPress site using the Minute Launch solution? And not just data of this type or that type, but any data you want answered by the type of personality you want with the type of limits you want. So we've got what I wrote in here is prompt templates. Here we can customize this to give the instructions to the AI exactly what to do. You know, sound like this, be like this, only use this information, do this, do that. I mean, prompting is an open-ended thing. So you can give it any kind of instruction set you want for the engine to behave. And you can further refine that as you go. So you can have different templates, not only for the way that the answers come out or for what you're generating, but also if you were running this for multiple clients, you could have your own engine as a service and run it for clients because you've got a client whose name you can use as the responder. Like here's Dr. Hoover. And I could have Dr. Hoover's voice if I wanted plugged into 11 Labs. And I could have all of the things trained on rules for Dr. Hoover's business, but I, as the implementer, you as the implementer can run this as a service for your clients because you can hook this to their site, be the one that runs it. And when things come in, as I'm going to show you, you could do your magic. Okay. So what happens exactly? Well, like I said, let's say a customer comes along and the customer has questions about the product. One way you can use this is just an interface for somebody who is not necessarily you or your client or not the expert, but wants to give the proper answer. So let's do a question. I'm a 58-year-old internet person who spends a lot of time in front of the computer, and as such, my neck and back are killing me. Do you have any advice what I could use to help my situation? Oh, by the way, I'm a male and I try to stay active. Okay. We say which prompt template to use. Here, I'm going to pick the one that was short and human. Now, I can customize this in a million different ways. So you get different results based upon what you put into the prompt. The responder is who's going to respond. Let's say it's Dr. Hoover responding. And we can now here choose, and unfortunately you guys can't see that, which is making me sad. There is a drop down here that you cannot see, unfortunately, the overlay. The drop down of response type says email response, voice response, chat response, social media, formal letter, support ticket. So in this drop down that unfortunately is not showing up, those are the choices. I don't know. It's unfortunate. It's weird that when I'm sharing the screen, it doesn't share like the overlays. But nevertheless, I'm going to choose email response. Now there's a choice here for generating voice output, and I'm going to zoom in a bit, I guess. You can generate voice output here. I'll do it like this. And for this, I could send things to 11 Labs. And so when we chose the voices, I want to show you what's so cool about 11 Labs. They already have a library of about, I don't know, a jillion voices that you can pick from, or you can make your own. So if I go over here to voices, you can see here that I've got an account and I've got the Spence, that wacky guy. Here's the Spencer Foreman that I custom trained, but I also have all these other ones that I might choose from, men and women, different parts of the world. I can go into the library and I can choose any kind of voice I want. I mean, there's just an endless amount of voice types and people. Okay, so whatever suits your business or your client's business. In this case, I had chosen originally Spence, and then I switched to a female voice, but I'm going to go back and I'm going to put Spence back in. Okay, so if I go personal Spence, all I need to do is just grab, you can hear it. I'm going to grab the ID of the Spence voice, and I'm going to just pop that back in to my setting here. When I go for the 11 Labs voice ID. In the final version of this, I'll probably have the ability, like with the responders and the prompt templates, to just save unlimited voices, and you can choose those a la carte. All right, so here's the deal. I have to remake my thing. I'm a 58-year-old internet person who sits a lot and has a bad back and neck pain, but I like to stay active. What can I do? I'm male, by the way. Okay. Again, short and human, Dr. Hoover, email, generate a voice output. You click the button. Now, this is an opportunity, let's say, for somebody who is running customer support. If you have somebody working for you, or a $5 an hour, I mean, obviously in the real world more, but like if you hired somebody in the Philippines, $5 an hour is not actually unusual. Somebody who's just knowledgeable enough to know that they're going to manage the process of flipping the right switches and putting the ping pong balls into the top of the machine, versus being you who has to know everything. This generated a fully automated response that on its own could be quite easily, go ahead to your email program. Let's just go here, for example, mail in, well, I'm not going to go to my real email, but let's go to text editor online so you can see this together. You have something that the person can just quickly and easily paste into an email. And what you'll notice it has, and in this case, the links are muted because it's on my demo site. What it does is it generates in the flavor or the style or the campiness or the rules or anything else, you guys know how AI works, that you want until it's dialed in. This is way too formal. It's ridiculous. And also the product URLs and stuff, I could tell it to specifically give the URLs of this, that, or the other site. Let's remake this a little bit, because this is an answer that somebody, if it was tuned in, who doesn't know the business, could do for you manually, just responding normal emails. And there's more, but let's just tune it real quick. Let's do, let's edit the short and human one. Okay. Short as possible, sound like a male 63 health professional. Okay. Like Dr. Stuart Hoover at motherearthlabs.com about. So I'm telling it about Dr. Hoover's like quick little profile there to help understand. Always list at least 1 or 2 products, including yours, but only from this website URL. So we're going to say from, let's do it like this, motherearthlabs.com. Now, this is important. When you train this, we have lots of rules of where the data is. I could train it to come back to School WP, actually. Let's do School WP. I just don't have beautiful pages set up, right, to show the product. So I'll do it this way. And nowhere else. But what I'm saying is you can have your client remote site and you run this engine for yourself as a service for them. Okay. Never mention price. Be sure to ask if there's anything else that you do in the end. Let's give it a couple of instructions. Be super casual and friendly, but professional enough, like a doctor would be. Sort of if your friend was your doctor. And let's also say, be sure the URLs are formatted to be clickable like this. So they work in an email. And add a UTM code to each link that is unique but won't break in email. Okay. That last little bit is interesting because what I'm saying is you can also have this where the answers are unique and generated by AI, but they have UTM variables that we can pick up using the marketing automation tools of WP Fusion. So we can track which responses get clicked, which responses lead to sales of products, which people clicked which links with which UTMs, and then build an aggregated database of which of these responses was the best response for a product, which sold the most stuff, got the most subscriptions. And we can do that across an entire industry of products, not just for one person. For example, if you're in the WordPress space and you're doing things and you're referring to the same set of products in the kit, it doesn't matter which ones you're using in particular, because the best answer is going to be tested out maybe against thousands of people from maybe dozens or hundreds of implementers. If you're an industry like the pharmaceutical or the medical stuff or donuts or chocolate, like Chris's wife, you can do things in a cohort that end up getting data that's useful to everybody. So one of the things on the service end of this that I'm going to be offering is we're going to be aggregating the answers and tracking which ones get the best responses so that you or your client will be able to just pick from a library of like, here's responses that would work for you, or here's responses that had the best ROI, or here's social media posts that did the best. Because now we have this entire ecosystem of people using the same stuff with the same output. So let's try this again now that I got the short and human. And what I want to do, though, is I want to show you. Let's go to my original response. If I zoom in, zoom, everything that oh, that just doesn't scale well. So sorry, let's do that again. You're going to have to bear with me. On the right side of this window, I have to adjust the scalability. All of the inputs are here, and they've got already generated the audio output. Okay, so first of all, these are available for reuse, re-editing, repurposing, and so forth. And it's also typically set up, depending on what we tell it, to have the questions and the answers and everything available. In this case, I gave it the format to just give me the response, and that was kind of formal and yucky, but it just demonstrates that it's here now for somebody to use or repurpose. There's also the already generated MP3 file. Can you guys hear that, by the way? Because I think I piped in my audio successfully, but if I didn't, that's the deal. And you guys can actually hear it here. I'll paste it. It's not super important. That part, you guys already understand how it works. But that's the MP3 that one generated. Now, if I go back over here, let's do a new one and see what the difference is with my better instructions for the prompt. Having the right prompts is also going to be something that easy for us to do. Oh, what I was going to do is this. Let's go and just rob the same question so that we get an exact, unfortunately, I didn't have the format to save the question, so I'm just going to give it close. Okay. I'm a 58-year-old internet worker who has a bad back and neck, but like to stay active. What can you suggest I can use? By the way, I'm a male. Okay. We're going to do the short and human. Now that we've edited it, we're going to do still Dr. Hoover. I could make a new one that's suspense, of course. And then again, we can do the email response or the voice script or social media reply. Let's just stick with the email response to see what comes out differently. I won't generate a voice for this because we know what that's going to do. Depending on which engines you use and so forth, it might take a couple seconds or something to generate, which is what I'm going to show you in a minute about why you don't need to use this manually. But let's take a look at this response as a difference. See if it's a little more campy or otherwise. Okay. Again, hey there. It's great that you've been keen on, I have a couple suggestions can aid in managing your discomfort. Notice it created the advanced URL links, and notice it's pre-programmed in these unique UTM codes about source, medium, campaign. I could be more specific if I needed to, but the point is this is all at our fingertips to have the assistant without programming it, without selecting 8 trillion choices in WordPress. But what's really important is we can set the tone and create something that then is saved inside of WordPress for repurposing. I could take this and have the assistant create a social media post or YouTube video script, or even generate the gosh darn full video. I mean, that's what's frightening about this. But what I would probably do is use it to generate something that's content for a future webinar or something that I send out in my newsletter. But you see, I don't have to go out and have a service. I don't have to do copy paste into all these other systems and move it around. And everything that I create for myself or my client is, you guessed it, now saved here. And with or without the assets. By the way, you already have figured this out with the Media Hub. When you use reference to the imagery or the videos or the PDFs that's stored in the Media Hub, guess what happens for you and your client? You now become a resource engine for all of their social media. Chris, this is on your plate. You become an engine that provides a service for your client that justifies 1,000%, 97 a month to have you on the hook, plus your hands-on services. Like I would charge them $300 for once a week doing a newsletter, or, one email that takes you 12 seconds. For doing analytics about what customers are buying and connecting it to Metoric and showing them and saying them. All of this is an engine for you to make more money by being in the personal service business of your own concierge optimized hotel. If we took the same questions and all the other things and we use the other output, I'll give you one more example. I'm curious, what's the best stuff to take for more energy? And I'm 60 years old living in cold weather. Okay, actually, I'll merge two things. Instead of doing it here, let's do it on one of the other tools. Spence, I don't necessarily want to copy paste into here. Can't I just have my email fed into here? Why, yes, you can, because it has a REST API. You just literally have an endpoint and a webhook that you set up in Gmail or whatever your email, Fluent CRM. And any of the questions that you want to port here, you just send the questions with the URL string and the format, really simple, along to that endpoint. And then they get answered. If you want, you can also have your own tool like Talk or Chat.io, or Spence decided, why don't we just build in a very simple tool here for you that could be customized in the dashboard for doing the same thing. So, Tony Lama comes to the site of you or your client, Tony at tellme.com. I don't know if you can see this. Okay. Phone number 312-645-4321. Okay. Here's my question. Right now, this is in wait for it to answer and create the content mode, but this will do the same thing on the front end. So you don't even need to use email. You can have somebody come and instead of pretending that there's an AI person they're talking to, just say, look, I'm happy to answer you. I'm on the phone with the client. Just tell me what your question is and I'll get back to you real quick. But it doesn't have to be you, Dr. Hoover. It can be your assistant who knows how to answer like Dr. Hoover with Dr. Hoover's voice, Dr. Hoover's best response, and all of it oriented towards the client understanding more about the private data that's already being collected and used inside of the site, because of the fact that's where this stuff's been published. So we just submitted it this way. If we reload the responses, we can see Tony Lama and here are the response. So let's listen to the response. Okay. Here's the actual answer in words. By the way, this is what normally happens. The format that comes in gives us the ability to know everything you need to, you guessed it, add Tony Llama to your CRM or the client CRM. So by Tony submitting a question or an email, Tony, his phone number, his email is submitted. And if it's not there, it will ask for it. And it gets all the work of adding Tony and his answer into the CRM. Here's his question so that I could build like one of those cool Canva cards. Remember, Tony Llama has a question about being a 60-year-old something or other. And here's the response in the tone that was set by default for the front end form, which I'm going to show you. Okay. So let's go over and set that up. If I go over to the AI support, we go to the question box settings, and this already has built into it the basics. You know, instead of questions for Dr. Hoover, it's questions for whoever your client is. The color scheme, which of the prompt templates do you want to use? Which is the responder as a default? Which voice do you want to use as a default? So in other words, you can set it up to be any kind of style, any kind of person. And this is just the starting point, but you can also use a fluent form. You can use anything that can send a URL with variables in it. It's totally extensible even as of today, because all that I wanted to do was make it possible that you don't have to go out and use all these other services. Now, here's another use case, by the way. Spence has a really good idea for something to fix. I've already got tons of stuff on my website about the LaunchKit plugins, or the Minute Launch software kit plugins. I've already got tons of information from like past things I've said or done in my community or whatever. I can have the same engine where I ask it to give me a future posting by Spence answer for things that I just want to look into later. Or it can research for me and give me a head start. Like, how do I do this? How do I do that? Right? And you can even do it with this engine now because you just change the prompt template. But like I'm saying, on your actual training data, this has the ability to go at the database level to your own private stuff instead of uploading endlessly to a third-party service. Crazy, but we're not done yet. Okay. So there's an interface that you can use to optimally go through stuff. Yes, no, keep it, do stuff, post-processing. What if you got a good answer and you want to change something and remake the voice and so forth? That's just mundane, but I've already built that in. Here's the cooler part. What if you're really super busy and you're running this thing and you don't really want to trust the person helping you implicitly? Or you might want to jump in because one of your favorite clients has called. This is a service you can offer here, because what we've got is a situation where one of these windows will get me there. Where, here we go. We don't need a special iPhone or Android app. Hold on one second. I got a live call. Okay. What would be the cool thing is to say to the site owner, the business owner, or to the implementers, listen, just go about your day. There's a special page that's built into this feature for any WordPress site built with the Kadence deck. You do not need to go using the special tools from Apple or Android, and it will notify you if you keep it open that there's stuff to be looked at. Okay. So if we refresh this page, we will refresh it with the latest answers coming from whichever source. So the color coding is the source. Maybe this is from the front end form. Maybe this is from the email. This is from something that came in from YouTube comments, whatever. Here's Tony Llama answer on my iPhone. I know you guys can't see it because it's so small. It's ready to go if I want. So I can either send it from here, or I can copy it and use it from here, or I can click the view button to edit it in more detail on the back end, or I can get rid of it here. I can listen to the audio. So somebody who is working for me or the site owner can see in real time what's coming in from this various support stuff, so that you don't necessarily have to trust it to just shoot the stuff out. You don't have to necessarily trust it to just answer for you. Though I do believe that it won't take many tries until the answers that come out are going to be perfect enough that it's going to just be like, turn it on auto reply. And this works on mobile devices. And none of this formatting is like, I haven't spent much on this whatsoever as far as time. But the notion to me is just that you don't need, as I've said so many times, to have a special application when you got the modern platform that we have with WordPress with HTML5. So this will have like an interface that anybody who works can just say, log into this page. They'll see this interface. The clients won't. Magic ensues. Finally, go back over one more thing. Hello world. So what we've got here is testing tool. I think if I have the testing tool up or not, maybe not. No, I've got it on the other side. There's a testing tool so that you can also have this as an experience, just throwing it in as a mobile experience for your clients, because they can either do it from the website, of course, or they can just go to the particular page that you share in a link that says, go ahead and submit. Okay. So similar to this, it'll have I had it on this page, but I'm still developing it. So I turned it off. Okay. Let's talk about implications of this, but I also want to show you one or two quick things that have happened. In working with the other community features, including, the Fluent community, with the customizer and LearnDash, one of the things that has come up is that people are, I'm switching gears, by the way, people are annoyed beyond belief, me at the front of the line, that for some reason, Kadence feels it's important to start dicking around with some of the things that have to do with like full site editing. And I am a vocal advocate, along with Kevin Geary and a bunch of other people, that I got to talk to Ben Rittner and Hannah directly. Just stop doing that. Because here's what happened. One of our friends here, Bernie, has an amazing site, and he was inside of Kadence, appearance customize, and he was using the default settings, which are, of course, to use the customizer in a very easy enough to use way. You go into header, and you have this really nice at the bottom tab, desktop or tablet mode. And it's not intuitive per se, but it's intuitive enough that you go, oh, I see. Here's the trigger, which is the hamburger menu. And if I click on the cogwheel for the mobile hamburger menu, I can choose a different style. Like, that's intuitive. But the problem is that some people, including Bernie, are clever. And by the way, here, mobile navigation, this is the slide out off canvas navigation, the thing that slides in from the left to right. You have to know, but it's not that hard to understand that it's okay. It's right here. And then you can tell it what to do, and you can choose which menu shows up and so forth. But what happened is the Kadence apparently decided we're going to get really cute and make this custom header option, including something called a header custom box. And it honestly caught me as much as Bernie. If you go to Kadence, and don't do this, but this is what somebody got caught on. You go to Kadence, go to headers, you can make this custom header box, which is fine if you're going to use that only in the context of like an element. Like I showed you, like here's a header that only shows up because I use the short code, or I tell it to show up only on one page. But the problem was Bernie figured out a way, and I don't remember how he exactly did it, that he got it to show up as the design tool. And so when he had that enabled, and again, I'm not 100% sure what we did, I have to backtrack it. The difficulty was it showed up inside of the Kadence customizer as header box. And in doing so, turning it on meant that he had two different systems competing for which ones to show the header in which situations and where. So I just want to let you guys know, if you are thinking of using Kadence and making headers, that's okay, as long as you're displaying them through an element or through some other short code. If you're thinking of using it on its own, don't, because it's going to break things to high hell and you're going to be really frustrated. Here's what happens. If instead of a header, I know what the difference is. If instead of a header, I put in here or adjust this to do navigation, like here, transparent header, sticky header, no. And then I go ahead and use the visual builder. Again, bear with me. Blocks. Help me, Calgon. What did we do? We had this here. Hold on. navigation. This by itself, by the way, for those of you who know me long enough, the fact that I am sitting here with no clue what I'm supposed to click when, where, and why, even though I live, eat, sleep, and breathe in here, is the biggest indictment of what's wrong with this. Because the other thing, I could do this in my sleep. This thing I am right now looking for, and I cannot seem to find what I think I need to put in here, which is nav block, but I cannot figure how and why. And I cannot figure out why the block that I have here, this is embarrassing even, is stuck. It may be because it's locked. Let me see if I can unlock it. And I cannot unlock it. I'm going to go back because maybe this is auto-generated. I want to just make this point and not come away feeling like my 2 hours of sleep are getting me in the bad way. Let's add a new header. This, insanely stupid. Sorry, stupidest thing ever. This is like forcing you to go through something that doesn't give you really what you want, just to make you feel good about yourself. And then it's 10 times more work to undo it afterwards, which is part of the problem. So I'll choose one of these, only to now be stuck like, oh, how the hell do I do this? So my point was, apparently when you save this, this thing could end up appearing inside of the options for you to choose as how to set up your site header. And let's see if I can fool it into doing this. I feel really dumb, but I don't mind being dumb in front of you guys because that way you don't feel bad. If Spence can't figure it out, then, I mean, there's something not right. I mean, seriously. So let's go to customize and see if my header 829 shows up so I can make my point. There it is. Okay. See down here. Let me zoom in. This thing is just ridiculous. So you have to understand to go into the normal header where all the other things are in plain view that you've been using forever and work perfectly. And you have to know, oh, I want to use the block header. Right. Okay. You turn that on, and now somebody thought this is a good idea. I don't know why. Maybe I'm just not giving it enough of a chance. Now he turns on the block header, publish. Maybe you guys feel that's awesome. I don't know. To me, it feels like somebody took my car that has a steering wheel and a shift lever and a brake and a gas pedal, no clutches, unfortunately. And they decided to automate it into a push button thing. Like, oh, just now you just push a button and it'll decide for you where all these things go in the layout. Or like I've heard the modern car manufacturers are going back to physical buttons because they realize that people do not like pressing a flat screen because it requires you to take your eyes off of everything, including the road, to look at. This to me is dumb because we already had a way to build traditional WordPress stuff and traditional menus. And if they just stuck to making that better, this stuff would not be such an attractive nuisance. But as it is now, here's the problem. If you do this, this now takes over for what you previously thought was the case, including the fact you have to go back to the block editor in order to edit this stuff to change the mobile layouts, the mobile menus, the tablet. Nobody, even me, would have understood that to be the case. And it took me the better part of an hour working together with Bernie to figure this shit out. It was so frustrating, so frustrating. So that was just my little rant for the day. I don't even know how I undo this. I suppose if I go here, and I suppose if I go back there, okay, it shows up with, gotta hate the toggles that hide conditionally. So you add a toggle and somebody thought, well, if you've chosen it, let's hide the toggle. I prefer this. Maybe I'm old fashioned, but this is enough cognitive overload to just make a custom header, use it inside of the traditional customizer, customize it, make it a short code in an element. That's enough. Stick with this. You're going to go for a ride. Okay. Unless there's any questions, I'm going to call it a day because it's the hour. I feel my energy is waning. I'm going to continue building some stuff today. I have a couple client calls, but I'm going to probably see if I can get a nap in. I'm doing really, really well with all of these things that we're showing and talking about. And so what's going to happen is these are going to be available. Namaste, Carrie. These are going to be available as features for people who have Minute Launch. They will be available as services for somebody who has a client. Now, let me close real quick and say something on the referral since I started with the business model. Many of you have come to the conclusion that you really love people and you really love working with them, but that you would rather have things delivered to your clients from us and share in the profit. It's a win-win. I love that. So for those of you who want to do that, you can be in the business of making relationships with your expertise and friends and family and clients and so forth, and you send them upstream. And if you send upstream, for example, a typical client that's a $5,000 client, and there's a monthly, more likely than not, there will be close to, if not, a 50-50 share split. Not always, depends on what the client's got going. But for most clients, I've had situations where you can send them upstream. We handle them with concierge love and affection. You are still the implementer, but we do everything. And in doing so, you can essentially just stay out of the business. Now, if that's your thing, you can earn thousands of dollars from that referral. Or if they're on a subscription, we've $20 out of every $97 is for you too. So that's $240 a year just for those referrals. But the idea for me is that with this high level pro service, the operation of the back end tools for you is a whole line of business that you could be good at, and you can do it across a swath of clients from one place. You could also send them, depending on the niche, upstream to us, because we're equipping this whole thing as a ready to go platform service for implementers who want to have this as an offering for their clients, so that you can be involved and you can be the point of contact, but all the hard stuff, we don't have to tell them, is done from our end. So if these get your brain going, I hope they do. Stay tuned, because this is, I used to be the evil genius. Now I'm Uncle Spence or Spence. I think namaste is the right word, because we live in a world where, as human beings, my purpose and goal for this next trimester is to make it better and easier for normal people to have relationships, business or otherwise, without trying to crush other people and hurt other people and hoard from other people. The world we're living in, I can't say it enough, requires you and I and all of us human beings to remember we're all just human beings. And just because somebody has more money, more power, more control, doesn't mean that we should take advantage of them. We should be more helpful to others, because that is what this AI revolution is actually bringing. There's a reckoning. A lot of people are going to be shifting out of positions, and there will be people who, like the media oligarchs, are going to try to essentially say, we have it all and you guys are on the ground. And I'm saying the rest of us can say no, because we have equal access to the stuff for the moment. So if you would like to join me, I can't think of a better way than to get involved in this, because I can show you ways you can make a really generous living, really delivering value for a price that makes your clients and customers happy. But in doing so, you can just join me to help other people without having to sign up for another, disappointing lock you in a box service. I'll see you on the next video. Have a great weekend.